will happen if President Trump is removed from office? I know we have a caller in Canada. I just want to take these American callers first, but I'll get to you. Let's go to Margaret in Oklahoma. What do you think is going to happen if the deep state removes Trump from office?
Well, I think that since we are so disorganized, that they will just roll over us. Because what we needed already was to have people like on the local level talking to each other about the situation and what they're going to do. There was a young man, okay, who put up, it's kind of like a continuity of government on the citizen level.
Yeah.
But he said that the government is so corrupt that it's going to fall from its own weight, and we just have to get ready and be ready when it happens. But the thing was, he came up with something that he wanted people to be able to organize and do things that the government didn't have to give permission for. And he had something called the Solution to Reclaiming Liberty. It was in 4 parts. The first part was a declaration. People declared that they liked their liberty and they didn't want to give it up. The second part was called the Liberty Bell, that anyone would call this number if the police were harassing them, and people would show up with cell phones to help them. The third part was the common law court, that they were doing this in Alaska.
Here's the problem, because I hear what you're saying, and I think that the premise is a good idea. That's getting a little too complicated for most people, just to be honest with you. Most people, once you get to step 3, you're just going to lose them. I had a similar idea that was you just find like-minded people locally. Maybe that means going door to door, passing out a flyer, maybe putting a Trump flag up in your yard, just some little tactic you can do to find like-minded people. And then you take it one step further, and once you have the like-minded people that want to work to save this country, you say, okay, here's what we're going to do. I was going to do this in St. Louis, actually, before I moved here. You find the like-minded people, and you basically prepare yourself for the worst. And you say, okay, if the worst happens, which would be they remove Trump from power, or the power grid goes down, a big terror attack, whatever it could be, some sort of blast that takes out the entire electric grid. So then you say, okay, you've got all these people together. You're responsible for ammo. You're responsible for firearms. You're responsible for food. You're responsible for water. You're responsible for mapping out where we need to go. You're responsible for shelter. You're responsible for this. You're responsible for seats. So then you kind of create your little emergency community. I don't know if that's exactly what you were talking about, but that's kind of, I feel like, what you were talking about. And the point you're making is that Americans are, for the most part, individualists. We take care of ourselves. We take care of our families. We take care of our own property. And we don't really bother you. We don't really get involved with your business. We don't really want to bother you. We don't want to get involved with your business. You live your life how you want to live your life. I'll live my life how I want to live my life. True Americana liberalism. But because of that, as you said, perhaps we're not the most prepared for a disaster because we're always living our own lives. So I'm not sure if that's a proper response, but what are your thoughts on that before we take another call?
I think the thing is that we don't stand up for our people. We aren't helping the people we need to be helping now, like the Bundys, for instance, and Schaeffer Cox, who's the one that came up with that Solution to Reclaiming Liberty. They made up a story against him, and railroaded it to the jury and gave him 26 years. Otherwise, he's sitting in a CMU prison now, and he has an appeal date on August the 16th, and we hope they'll let him go. We need to stand up for the Bundys. We need to stand up for people, and we need to get together on a local level, just like Schaeffer was describing in his Solution to Reclaiming Liberty, which is on YouTube. That people can talk to each other at a local level and decide how they're going to take care of each other. The fourth part of that liberty, the Solution to Reclaiming Liberty, was the militia. That was the fourth part. People need to do what they can do to.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's eventually what landed him in jail, was the militia stuff, if I recall correctly, with Schaeffer Cox.
Hello? Am I still on?
Yeah, I believe it was the militia stuff and the stuff he wanted to organize with the Second Amendment that wound up Schaeffer Cox in prison.
Oh, no, they made it all up. It was because of his Solution to Reclaiming Liberty, they made it totally illegal. The trial was illegal. And
it's just another, it's the same thing. I don't know. Look, it's sad. I want justice for Schaeffer Cox. I don't want the Bundys to have their land stolen. I don't want an Amish farmer who makes a product in his backyard to get hit with some regulation suit and then end up in jail for the rest of his life, a grandfather. This is the type of garbage that liberal judges and I don't know what to do. Again, it's like how can I take care of everything? How can we be here in Austin and try to take care of every case? You just got to mobilize locally, and I guess that's what Margaret is saying. It sucks. I wish I could do more for Schaeffer Cox. I wish I could do more for the Bundys. You know, but here we are trying to keep Trump from getting ousted from office, our elected president. Yeah, it's all crazy. It's literally just a cyclone of madness here in America. Thank you for the call, Margaret. Let's go to John in Wisconsin.